Alright guys, I promised this video months and months ago, and today I feel like making the video. You know, tomorrow's about to be Mother's Day. Shout out to all the mothers out in the world. Shout out to my mother. And shout out to Danny. You guys know her as T.E.A.R DeVille. She birthed, and I saw this. I surrendered completely to God when I saw childbirth. That is a humbling experience that I think everyone should watch when they're like 12. Because it just changes the way you look at women. Because you are completely at the mercy of the Creator when you watch childbirth. There's nothing you can do. You can't say I love you enough. You can't say hang in there, honey. You literally cannot do anything to soothe any of the pain, and you can't do anything. So you're humbled very instantly. And in seeing that, you know, I have to honor and always respect that, because that is something that I don't think men can ever comprehend. You know, I had tooth pain when I got my teeth whitened back in 2018, and they lied to me. They're like, yeah, it just feels like a pinch when you drink wine. Man, my face felt like lightning bolts were shooting through my face. Don't get your teeth whitened or bleached, okay? They lied to me. Okay, straight out, they lied to me. And my teeth have been sensitive ever since, so I just want to warn you guys about that. But this video is going to be about a freestyle from my brain, teaching you guys how to attract better women. In the last hate storm and swarm of all the haters, it's a lot of angry people. Like, when you're making money and you're peaceful at home, what are you going to battle with other men for no reason, unless you're trying to conquer their business? And a lot of people, they're not even competitors in the space, so it's like they're wasting their energy on another man because what? Because they're emotional. And so I'm making this video because, again, I promised this months and months ago, and I even told my fiance, I said I should make a new video from the Punks and Players video to go more in depth, because there's so many stories. I'm gonna have to make like a part series of all the stories I've encountered while dating. It is a long list of stories, okay? But from experience, you guys, you know, I have a family, okay? We have a child, Leo. Shout out to Leo, you guys know him. And T.E.A.R DeVille, you guys know her as T.E.A.R DeVille. So a family is a whole different thing. It's a whole different concept. It's almost like building a corporation or a business, not in the sense of like money making. I'm saying in terms of like, it's a separate entity. So your relationship with a woman right now, before you have kids, you're not gonna comprehend it as when you have a family. It's a very different thing. It's extremely serious, okay? Because a family is the triune, okay? The triune, you have 3 points. You have the first group, for example. Society is basically a bunch of groups stacked up. A woman and a man, those are just the progenitors of a group, you know, the communication line between point A and point B. But when you have 3, you have an actual group, and the group has stability because you offset energy, okay? So it's a very different thing, okay? So, okay, firstly, let's talk about ourselves, because in order to attract a woman, and I saw this in a comment on Instagram, some guy was like, oh, I know what I saw. It was a Instagram post that was a hairdresser, and she was posting pictures of the men, and she said, I'm gonna post the pictures of these men because they're single, and here's all their information, their occupation, their height, and something else. I forgot what it was, maybe their weight or something like that. And she said, I'm going to post these guys until they find a mate. So basically her clients, she's promoting them to find love or whatever. And one of the guys in the comments was like, why are you posting their height? If we posted the height of a woman, wouldn't you be offended? It's like, come on, bro. Like, how emotional do you have to be as a man to say something about height? Yes, women want tall men. You know why? When they're shorter, they want a taller man so they can equal out the height difference, dummy. Like, of course height matters. Like, you think height doesn't matter? If height didn't matter, why are we watching 7-foot giants dunk on each other in the NBA and get paid millions of dollars for it? There's a reason why 5'2" people are not the average height for the NBA. You don't make the cut, stupid. So stop fighting nature and stop acting like God is to be, cursed upon just because you're not 5'11" or whatever the women deem proper, okay? Stop fighting God, okay? You're fighting an uphill battle. What you need to understand is that everybody has an advantage, okay? The tall guy has an advantage of his height automatically. The same way a pretty girl has the advantage of her genetics automatically. The same way a smart kid has the advantage of his intelligence automatically. The same way, like, I can keep going and going. The same way a wealthy kid has his advantage of wealth automatically. Each one of those things, some you can't achieve, even if you tried hard. Like, for example, at least currently, there's nothing that you can do to make your 5'2" self 7'2". So why are you trying to fight that uphill battle? It's ridiculous, okay? Now, wealth, you can technically achieve wealth, but wealth is something that's passed down. Think of wealth like fame. You know, Lil Wayne begot Drake, and Drake begot Party Next Door. It's like a chain of fame, basically. That's what wealth is. It gets passed down. Rarely is wealth, I can't say rarely because I don't know the stats, but wealth is not something that's just always earned necessarily. It's passed down. Okay. The same way like the top companies in the world have billions and billions of dollars is because they spend billions and billions of dollars with each other. They keep the money up here. They don't trickle that down to us common folk. The wealth stays up top. So I'm saying all this to say, what battles can you win? You can't win the height battle. So if you're 5'9" and below, just deal with it. You're not going to be growing, doing some crazy exercises at the gym. Just stop wasting your time. Okay. And if you're a short king, embrace it. Stop using that as your crutch to seek empathy and sympathy. Okay. Nobody cares. We all have our own battles in life. Okay. Some people have it easier in certain ways. Some people don't. That's life. What, you gonna fight God? You want to box God? Like, that's how dumb you sound. Okay. So let's say the height thing. Okay. So again, it's understanding biology. Women want a taller man because when they're shorter, the baby tends to be the average of the two and their child is taller, which means they can continue getting the women they want and continuing the genetics. The whole point of mating is to continue your genetics. When you have a child with somebody, you are invested in the child because your genetics are in the child. Your genetics are not in your partner. Your genetics are in your parents and your child. Listen to what I'm saying. The goal of life is to preserve your genetics, correct? Well, if your genetics are in your parents, who gave you half, from the mother and the father, and you pass those genetics to your child who has half from the mother and you're invested in that to the core, genetically speaking. Understand what I'm saying to you. Genetics rule this reality. Okay. Those are the most sacred relationships, is you and your child, period. That's why there's a triune God, so to speak, in Christianity. Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, specifically centered. If you read the Bible, talks about a lot about the father. It doesn't say the mother a lot. I don't know why it doesn't say the mother a lot, but it just talks about a lot about the father and a lot about the son. Was there a daughter of God in the Bible? And I'm being exaggerative because I'm trying to make a point. So I'm sure there's stories about people being called the daughter of God, whatever. But the point is, the main story is God the man, the son Jesus, right? In the Christian Bible. It doesn't talk about daughters and mothers. And the point I'm trying to make is not a patriarchal point. I'm trying to make the point that it's talking about a parent and the child. Okay? Parent, child. Now, some consider wisdom, the woman of the story, Sophia, for those who understand the deeper esoteric studies. But, that takes a lot of understanding to comprehend. So Sophia, if God is the prompter of the universe, let's say, Sophia would be the AI agent, metaphorically speaking. So Sophia is the field. Okay. And God is the one planting the seed in the field. So the man is the one giving something into a system that has the nutrients to support the life. Does that make sense? So God gives the vision. Okay. The seed is the vision for a tree, the potentiality for a tree. That's all it is the plan and the vision and the architecture for a tree. That's it. It's the structure for a tree. That seed goes into the ground. The ground is the feminine. The ground is the nutrients, the sulfur, the phosphorus, the carbon, the sulfur, if I didn't already say, the nitrogen, the oxygen. Okay, the hydrogen, everything that seed needs to grow. The water in the ground, okay, goes out to seek the nutrients. The nutrients pull in to wrap around the seed, and the seed takes in the nutrients and builds its body. If you study human biology and human development, you'll understand how humans develop. And I've studied this at a university level. I'm not an expert, but it's a magical process. It really is magical. And when you comprehend that the father is for the structure and the woman provides the support to develop the vision of the father, okay? It wraps around the vision. The father provides the structure and the vision. The mother provides the support to make sure the vision is coming to fruition, okay? So when you comprehend those two buckets, these are just metaphors in the Bible, okay? When you comprehend these roles, you will stop fighting against nature. Most of you guys are having issues because you don't fit the role that women want. When women are talking about you're not a provider, they're not necessarily always talking about money. They're talking about you have no vision, you have no direction, you have no surety, you have no confidence. What is confidence? Confidence is a history of transactions of successful things that you've accomplished. And I don't just mean money. I mean, hey, if my goal is to take 5 steps today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I just took 5 steps. Okay, now tomorrow I promise myself I'm going to take 10 steps. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now I'm building a transactional history of things that I've actually done. I can look back in the past and say, I already did 15 steps. So doing 20 steps tomorrow, that's just doubling what I did today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. Boom. I'm confident to know that I can achieve my goal that I set out because I've already done it in the past. And most people don't have confidence because they don't have a transactional history. And that's what women are talking about when they're saying that men are not providers or leaders. They're not talking about money and your job necessarily. They're talking about you don't have a transactional history that they can trust in. Would you trust a bank that never did a transaction? Would you trust a Bitcoin wallet that had no previous ins and outs? It just went to some mysterious address. Would you hop on a plane that's never been tested in the world before it went out to production? No, you wouldn't, right? You want something that's tested, battle tested. That's what women are looking for. Battle tested men who have a transactional history. Confidence means con in Spanish means with. Fidence means fidelity, which means trust. Confidence literally means with trust. How do you build trust with yourself? You give yourself a goal and you say, I'm going to do this small goal. Make it very, very, very small. Do not make a goal that's like, I want to make $1 billion in this year. Because when you don't hit the goal, you're actually creating what's called negative reinforcement. So you're teaching yourself not to trust your own words, which is the lack of confidence. Okay. So again, if your small goal is, hey, I'm going to take 5 steps today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I accomplish my goal. Tomorrow, my goal is make 10 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. I hit my goals and I'm believing in my own words. You need to believe your own words before you try to lie and manipulate and, whatever you guys are trying to do to rizz up a girl, basically love bombing and manipulating as a narcissist to get something out of that person when you don't even give value to yourself. Okay, that's what 99% of guys are trying to do. They're trying to use words and tactics to deceive a woman, but then get mad when a woman wears a wig, wears makeup, has a BBL, has fake this, and doesn't look like the pictures on, the dating apps that you guys use. It's like, well, you lied in the first place. You tried to present yourself with your Gucci belt wrapped around your waist like you got money. You tried to act like you were just the king of the town when meanwhile nobody knows you. You tried to act like you knew how to run a business when you don't. You just have a fake account acting like you're doing business. Okay, so you need to be self-accountable first. And that's why I'm starting with the self first. So this is part 1, talking about the self. How do you develop the self? The self, 1 is to realize that you're accountable for everything, every single thing. You don't act like a victim. In 2026, if I hear a man talk about the world just won't let me, the record labels won't let me, no one wants to play my, just shh. You sound like a child. Okay. As a man, you take accountability. If you're not getting results, that means you don't have the sauce. You don't have the formula. So change the formula. Like, why are you doing the same thing, not getting the results you want? That's stupid, right? Sounds dumb. I would have a metaphor, but I don't, because it's just, we tend to do the same things over and over and over and over and over. Listening to people on YouTube, and I'm not blaming YouTube. Okay, you got to be accountable for the content you guys watch. If you watch a bunch of bullcrap and the top 10 tips for it, then you deserve the top 10 failures because you're just thinking that you could just cherry pick success. You have to go through the process. There's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. You can't shortcut success. And success does not mean money. I used to think success was some secret. Success is a mindset. Success is understanding that when you set a goal, you have to set a believable goal. You have to remain teachable. If you're not teachable, you won't have the awareness you need to gain the nutrients you need to get to your results. You can't make the seed grow without the nutrients. And most people, they'll set these goals, these audacious goals, if that's even the word, bodacious, whatever the word is, these large goals, and it's so unbelievable to themselves. They don't have a conviction or a belief around the goal. When you don't have a belief or conviction around a goal, you're not going to take the action. In short, spells T.E.A.R, T-E.A.R. Everything starts with the thought. The thought is the vision, the structure. It's the prompt, okay, for this reality. It's the God imagination, okay, if we want to get esoteric. The thought, okay? Now the thought charges up in the mind on repeat over and over and over again. It builds up what's called a resonance. Resonance is how we translate waveforms in this reality to form. If you guys study cymatic experiments, for example, you know that at 432 hertz, we see a different vibration pattern than if you see it at 440. It's a chaotic pattern. What happens when your thoughts have enough resonance to create harmonic form, meaning alignment with the creator, this reality? You can't translate something from one side to the next if it doesn't go through the filter. You have to have your subconscious mind's filter allow and truly believe and have a conviction around whatever it is you're repeating in your mind. The secret is something called autosuggestion, repeating the same thing to yourself over and over and over again until you rewrite that belief within yourself, and looking for supportive evidence around your belief. Most of us seek confirmation bias. That's a good thing. It's not a negative thing. However, we seek confirmation bias for the negative most of the time. I want you guys to seek confirmation bias for the positive. What if it did go right? What if I did have this chance to do X, Y, and Z? So we need to really study the subconscious mind at the core. Everything has a definition. Okay, so if I say ice cream, you believe that links to different associations in the brain. Okay, the brain works like a tree. When I say a word, you have 3 to 10 results. Let's just say the top 2 results are the main ones you guys focus on. They're called neural pathways or neuronal pathways. So understand your beliefs come first before everything. And most of us think we believe something that we actually don't. You could say you believe in God, but do you believe in God if you are about to jump into lava? Do you believe in God when some kind of tragedy is happening to you, when you're down? Do you believe in God? So there's all these different conditions that people don't acknowledge, and everything's a scale with a belief. There's no on and off switch for beliefs. I believe in God, on and off. No, it's I believe in God 10%. I believe in God 50%. I believe in God 70%. It's a scale. And you have to go through your subconscious mind and reprogram to look for evidence around each portion of that scale. Do I believe in God if X, Y, and Z scenario happened? Do I believe in God if this happened? Do I believe in God if that happened? And then judge that based on your evidence and your logic and your reasoning to support that specific conviction. That is what translates your thoughts into the emotion side. So it goes thoughts, T.E.A.R, thoughts, emotion, action, reaction, or result. So thoughts are the things that you conjure up in what people deem the soul or the spirit or the mind, okay? The observer, so to speak. It's the oscillator. We'll call it the oscillator since this is a music crowd. So thoughts are the imagination, the oscillator. You know what emotion is? Emotion is the resonance. It's the amplifier. Okay, so emotion is when we embody a thought into our endocrine system to where now it's in our hormonal system. It just goes on and cycles throughout our body, even without us being conscious. We have 2 different, the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. In short, when you embody a belief and you're truly convicted, your actions will reflect that through your emotions. Your emotions drive your actions. Regardless of what you guys say. If you have, for example, myself, if I haven't, dealt with my coping mechanisms for stress, I'm going to lead to eating bad and poorly. That's just the fact that whether I try to counteract that with conscious action or not, it's all based on hormonal, not your consciousness. It's based on hormonal control. Okay. Endocrine system. So long story short, you have to, if you struggle with that, you need to go all the way back to the conviction. Why are you even dealing with coping mechanisms and stress anyway? How do you deal with stress? When you go to the gym, how do you take rest in between your sets? How do you go to the gym and then come back home and be rested at home so you can recover your muscle? How do you deal with stress in general? There's different stress tolerances. Like, for example, having birth is a lot more stress than, your math test. So like I said, when you surrender to God watching childbirth, it humbles you because that is the ultimate amount of stress I've ever seen ever. Okay. And you can't control that level of stress. And that's the moment where you have to say, do you believe in God or do you not? I've never been tested to that degree. So I can't put myself in that position. I can only imagine or synthesize the scenario and go through that within my mind. Okay. So long story short, T.E.A.R, thoughts, emotions, action, results. So thoughts are the things that most people don't address. Okay. They never address their beliefs. They just keep the same beliefs. They never question their beliefs. They never challenge the beliefs. They never go back to even try to reprogram the beliefs. They don't know how to reprogram the beliefs. But the main thing is you have to first be teachable. If you're not willing to change, nothing's happening. You could want somebody to be better all day long. They're never going to be better until they internally decide to change, because it's almost like this. When you hang around your friends, there's something called read access and write access. If you're into computer stuff. So read access is, hey, I can read a file, but I can't edit the words on the file. That's you and everybody around you. You cannot edit anybody else's code around you in terms of force, meaning you forcing something onto them. Okay. You have what's called read access. Now they have what's called write access. They can go inside their internal systems because they have permission from themselves to change their own destiny. That has to be an internal battle that you choose to be better as a mate and a person, to change your beliefs first, because it doesn't matter how much you want to change your behavior. You could want to do that all day and think that Oprah's 23-day plan is going to help you. No shade to Oprah. it starts with the inside beliefs first. You cannot address actions in the outside world without addressing the inside world, because the inside world looks for the filter called the conscious mind to go to the outside world. And if it doesn't resonate properly, it won't be aligned or translate or transmute or be manifested, as people say, through into the physical world. So thought is the oscillation, emotion is the amplification or the resonance, the thing that makes it bigger, okay, and grows over time. It's like compound interest. Action is the result of your emotional amplification, okay? So the same way, if I shake my hand like this, very small, you guys might not see it shake, okay? I'm shaking it kind of exaggerated so you guys can see on the, but I'm shaking it very subtly. If I shake it more and more and more, you can visually see my hand is shaking. So when the amplitude gets up to a certain point, you can see that my hand is shaking, and that's called action in this physical reality. We can actually see something moving. There's an action there. There's a change being underdone or undergoing a change. And the result is what happens after we start shaking the world. What happens after that? What's the consequence? What's the downline cascading effect of our intent? Everything starts with intent. Intent is the oscillator. Okay, the intent goes through the filter called the subconscious mind into the conscious mind. Then it gets amplified through your endocrine system. Okay, meaning repetitive thought over and over and over in our hormonal system that gets reinforced over and over and over. And then we take action. Okay, because if you guys study, there's a Dr. Feldman and Dr. Huberman, and Lisa Feldman. There's a really, really good video. Just search up Lisa Feldman and Dr. Huberman. And it talks about how when we think on things, when we premeditate, everything's either a threat or an ally, basically. And our brain creates pre-actions. So when Jesus said in the Bible, you know, like, let me pull up the quote actually, hold on. All right, so here's the quote. It says, "But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Now, what does that mean? Most people look at it as just adultery. We're not. Break down what Jesus is trying to teach us, okay? He's talking about more than just adultery. He's talking about actions are premeditated before the action occurs in the physical reality. That's what he's talking about. As inside, so the outside. As above, so below, right? He's talking about literally how the brain works is you conjure up actions, you predetermined actions, okay? By the way that you think and you believe and have conviction, you build up neuronal pathways, okay? And we call these premeditated actions. You build these up as you think over and over and ruminate on something. And as you imagine something. So as you keep going through these imaginary scenarios, you're building up these reinforcing pathways. And then when a scenario occurs, you either deem something a threat or an ally. And depending on the bucket you choose, it triggers that series of actions. So what he's saying is not just about lust. He's talking about your actions are predetermined in your mind before you even take action. That's what he's talking about. Okay, and that's the secret that most people can't comprehend because they haven't studied the science. And like I said, look up the interview talk with Lisa Feldman and Dr. Huberman. So thought, oscillation leads to amplification. Resonance in the emotions leads to action. Once you have enough amplitude, we see the change. I see you, fam. I see you. You know why people say that? Because now you're moving at such a high amplitude that they can't not see you. And that's when you start attracting your mate, is when they see you. Everybody will see you when you have motion and momentum. But the problem is if people don't understand, if people think your momentum just is going to go up into infinite amplitude, that's when you have a problem as a man, because you might be attracting a woman who simply is just banking on your amplitude going up, which is not wrong of her. We all bet on stocks. Now, if you're a woman in modern day society, you know, think about 1950s, 1960s, where they had to rely on a man. Like they literally, their future was determined by the man they chose, because the man's salary, chances are, wasn't going to change. Jobs didn't really change in the 1950s and 60s. There weren't huge layoffs back then, but there also weren't job changes. You were working the same job for 50 years, like, and had a pension on top of that, a retirement fund. Whereas modern day, I mean, we're shifting gears every single 2 to 3 years due to AI. You know, it's a different mindset. So back in the day, they were banking on the men to be their trajectory, their security, because again, if they're taking a break and surrendering to God, basically to put their whole life on pause, okay? Because childbirth, you're not going to just walk through childbirth and just magically get back to work, and that's ridiculous, okay? So basically, nature has it to where women are going to be out the game, let's say metaphorically speaking, for a certain amount of time. So if that woman is out the game, then she has to rely on a man to take care of her. And if you don't have that support system for her to trust in, what are you complaining about? Yes, that's a requirement of women to have a support system. Yes, she needs to know that you're stable with whatever you're doing, whether it's an occupation or whether it's a business or whether it's whatever it is. She needs to know that you can continuously do this thing because she's putting her faith in the creator to help her discern who she should trust in terms of providing, because she can't provide for herself because she's ultimately going to have to deal with the progeny, which is the child. Okay. Whereas the man is just seen as the one who's out hunting because he doesn't have to bear the burden of carrying somebody within his body. Again, if men had to feel that pain, I'm sure that we would be much more humble, but we're not. So it's a very different mindset when you're single and you've never seen childbirth. You're going to act like a fool. Okay. You're going to think that, you know, intercourse and just dealing with women is just this fun thing, as if it's drinking or something. You don't understand the seriousness that comes out of having a child. It's very serious. It's like going to war. Watching childbirth is like going to war. It's an extremely serious thing. I wish more people understood how serious having a family is. Okay. And I'm saying this not to scare people. It's just that I hate how the same way alcohol and partying and doing drugs became just this socially accepted thing. It's dangerous. Like, for example, when I was in college, we used to just be, I was a wild boy in college, not gonna lie to you guys. We used to play drinking games, for example. And every time my roommate would, I forgot how the game went, but like every time he would make a shot, I would have to take a drink or a sip of the whatever it was. Mostly beers back then, but still. You look at the end of the game, the table's full of like 10, 15 beers. It's like, no, like, how did it become socially acceptable to have these children basically from 18 to 21? Because we know kids are drinking before 21. Let's be honest. You got fake IDs, you got kids throwing parties. It's just bound to happen, probably. But the problem is it's deemed as socially okay. That's the problem. Okay, so my point is, the same way drinking and all that, the same way intercourse has become socially just this fun thing. It's not deemed serious anymore, and that's the problem. And again, I'm not here to demonize it. I just want you guys to understand there's a full-on consequence for that. All right, guys, I had to run to greet my family at the garage, so they're back here, so we're going to spend family time soon, so I'll cut this last bit short. I almost told a different story in college, but we'll save that for part 2. So the main things you guys want to focus on is the T.E.A.R analogy, T.E.A.R, thoughts. Who do you hang around? The 5 people you spend the most time around will influence your thought seeds. Thought seeds generate your emotional resonance. The reason they consider friends bad to hang around and the 5 people around you is because you have a built-in believability index, we'll say. So even though you're not conscious of it, when you're around people, you give them the permissions, the right permissions in your subconscious mind. Okay. So without digging too deep, that's basically who you surround yourself with will determine your thought process, and your thoughts determine what? The emotional resonance. Okay. Now, emotional resonance is all about getting excited about your vision. Now, excitement can go the opposite way, ruminating about misery. Okay. So the same way you can get excited about getting your placement with Drake, well, you can do the opposite, which is to ruminate over worrying about something. Okay. And that is the same exact thing. It's just the equal and opposite of excitement. So understand that these levels, T means thoughts. Who do you surround yourself with? What are your thought seeds? Who do you ingest every single day? What do you actually believe? Can I challenge your beliefs? Do you challenge your beliefs? Who do you give writing permissions to your subconscious mind? Have you challenged different thoughts in your subconscious mind, or do you just accept everything everybody has to say? Do you have a chain of transactional history of verifiable and confirmed actions that you've done to say that you can be confident and sure in your future ability? That's the stuff you guys need to build on, because that's the root of everything. The emotion column will say, like I said, you can either get excited, it's amplitude. You can go up in polarity, you can go down in polarity. It's the same exact thing. So amplitude means, okay, how do we get excited about our vision? How do we get worried about something? Do we have a fear response? Do we have trauma that we have to deal with? Because trauma triggers the negative polarity, the downward polarity. It deals with the worrying of something, the ruminating on the negative polarity. Okay, so that's the equal and opposite of excitement. So we need to focus on structuring ourselves to do affirmations, things that get us excited about something. Okay, because that excitement translates, and that enthusiasm translates to convert people to truly believe in you, because now they can see the amplitude. Okay, they can see the motion. If you're like this and you're very nobody can tell you have motion, but when you're like this, it's impossible not to see the wave. Okay, so that's what people get excited about, is people they can see the wave of. It's not necessarily a money thing. Now, when we deal with the action category, okay, first it starts with thoughts. Who do you surround yourself with? What content do you consume? Do you seek knowledge and wisdom? Do you seek to be corrected? Are you teachable? Those are the questions. Do you set believable goals? Do you reinforce those goals? Nextly, it's, do you get excited about your ultimate vision? Or do you worry about some future event that never happened yet? Okay. Then you move into the action category. This is your catalog or your transactional ability. Basically, this is where we measure, okay, is your theory proper? In what's called the scientific method, you have a hypothesis. It's a guess. You're saying, I guess, this is true based on this, and this in the past, but I'm going to put this to test. And I'm going to test it against what's called a control. Long story short, when you find the results of that experiment, you say, okay, I now have a transactional history of results. Okay, and that's what action is all about, is building that transactional history. Or how are you translating the thoughts into actual actions? You could say you like a girl all day long, but she needs to see it. You could think it in your head all day long. Hey, call me Stacy. But if you're not doing anything to prep the environment for that to actually occur more naturally, it's never going to happen. So notice I didn't talk about tactics, pickup lines. I didn't give you guys things to say. If anything, you guys need to deal with your dental hygiene, period. You need to brush 3 to 4 times a day. You need to floss a lot. Because floss gets rid of the dead food in your teeth, okay? That's just rotting. It smells like a trash can in your mouth. You need to, which I need to, is also invest more in those little bristles things that are better than floss, because they get the stuff that floss can't get because floss is too thin most of the time. Okay, so get these little bristle things. I forget what they're called, but it's like it's like additional floss, basically. Some people use water picks. I don't have one yet, but I like those little bristle things. Mouthwash, alcohol mouthwash. We did this in microbiology. We found out that all those alcohol brands are it's all marketing. Okay, because at the end of the day, it just is sugar for the most part. And it just helps the bacteria grow. It's not just going to kill. When you kill bacteria, it also kills the good kind too. So alcohol is not in the mouthwash category. Alcohol is not some magical ingredient that's going to make your mouth fresher. So it's better to just get alcohol free. I think I deal with the Hello brand. I think that's the brand name. I think that's the one. And I just get the mint, whatever, mouthwash. Boom. Now, what most people don't realize is the power of xylitol. I'm not an expert on xylitol. You guys can watch videos about it, do your research. But pure gum, I think is what it's called. I just get the mint pure gum and boom, I have xylitol just like that. So it helps the dental area. A lot of guys do not realize their breath is horrendous. I was in New York one time talking to this very smart guy from France, and he was there to talk about his crypto project. But I had to turn, he was talking to me like this, and I had to turn this way because the breath was just overwhelming. And nobody can tell because you're not smelling your projected breath, okay? Here's the tell. If you lick your hand like this and you smell it, that's your breath. It smells horrendous. If you drink a water bottle and you're like, what does that smell off the water? It's your breath, okay? So another thing is, what else is there about dental hygiene? Oh, guys, this sounds simple, but literally, you know how they say, what's that smell? It's your upper lip. Literally curl your lip like this and check, okay? Check frequently, because what we do is we brush the inside of our mouth. We don't realize the outside also has mouth bacteria. You need to wipe that with soap multiple times a day. So that should take care of your dental hygiene. The next thing is your underarm. This was my weakness in high school. I would just sweat out all my t-shirts due to anxiety and not understanding I was using the wrong deodorant, which caused me to sweat. I was using degree bullcrap. So basically, look for the deodorant that doesn't have all that crap in it. I forget exactly. I think it's called aluminum free, if I'm not mistaken, and paraben free or whatever. And just use that. I don't have a specific brand, but it could be the deodorant causing you to sweat. Okay. Now, facial care. Also, there's a company called Thompson Tees. So if you guys are dressing up for special events, you could buy these Thompson Tees to go under your shirt, and it will guard the sweat from piling up from under your arms. Because that can be a confidence killer, is when you have sweat rings under your arms. I understand that, because that was one of my big things in high school. I would wear big clothes, big baggy clothes, because I was fearful of that sweat. Another thing about confidence in terms of outward appearance, but again, appearance stuff doesn't do anything to the inside. So you could do all the outside stuff you want. It's not going to change the inside. That's why I started with the inside stuff first. Okay. That's the most important thing. All this other stuff is just prerequisites. Okay. So hair, black people, get yourself a pair of clippers. You do not need to go to the barber wasting $80 every week to get your hair lined up. Like, unless you have some really complex hair, like I cut my son's hair, because I'm not spending $60. No shade to barbers. But bruh, I paid $20 every time I went to the barber as a kid. I never had extra money to do anything because I was blowing it on the barber. Okay. So just understand, get yourself a pair of clippers, a little hand mirror, costs $2 at the store. Put the mirror up, have a mirror in your bathroom, have a little hand mirror so you can see the back of your head, and you get used to practicing on your own head. Buy a T-clipper, which creates the lines for your lineup, and then buy a clipper set, which helps you cut your actual hair. Okay. I cut mine low so I don't have to keep cutting it every week. It's just annoying to cut my hair every week. So I just cut it to the 1/2 inch length and boom, I don't have to worry about my hair all day long or for like a couple weeks. So it saves me time, it saves me money, and it gives me confidence because I could cut my own hair. Okay. Now, again, like I said, if you have some complex hair, you know, and if you're other than black, I don't know how to articulate that specific point. So it's not a tactic. It's just something that a lot of black men, we suffer because we don't have the money to take care of our hair all the time. And then when our hair gets to a certain length, we lose confidence because we can't control it. And in society, anybody with an afro is deemed dangerous for some reason. Okay, so it's just one of those things as a black man specifically. So that's why I didn't want to give tactics, because not all my tactics apply to everybody. What else? So we talked about hair, we talked about facial hair. I recommend you guys, you know, do not, if you're black, okay, don't shave your mustache unless you're in the military or the police force or somewhere where they force you to do it. Do not shave your mustache. There's a subconscious trigger that I don't know what it is about black people, but if I don't see a black guy with a mustache, my trust levels go lower. It's just any black guy without a mustache is very hard to trust them. I don't know what it is. I didn't make the rules. That's just how it is. So if you, even if you mess up your chin area, just try not to mess up your mustache as a black guy when you're cutting your own hair. Just don't experiment, because the inner siren's gonna say, cut your mustache. Don't do it. Okay. What else is there? So we talked about hair, we talked about underarms, we talked about breath, and then just general hygiene. Look, guys, when you shower, understand that the whole crevice down here as a man is horrendous. Like, it's horrendous. We need to a lot of people don't realize you got to get up in there. Like with the soap, it's not just a, hey, rinse over my body. You need to be all up in the crevices. I have a son now and I changed his diaper, and now I can see everywhere that we struggle to clean. I can see it now. I can see where funk just gets trapped. And man, it's everywhere. So take the time when you guys are showering to go in every crevice and make sure that soap gets in every region 1,000 times. Make sure the soap gets thick so you know for sure it's actually doing its soap job. And you know, make sure that you guys are actually taking care of that area. Because, and another thing, when you're cutting your hair, you want to make sure that, you know, my preference is I just, you know, what's it called? Manscape. I manscape myself. I don't let it grow into like a freaking forest. Okay. So you guys got to learn how to use another pair of clippers, not your hair clippers, a separate pair of clippers that deal with bodily hair, like your underarm hair and your, you know, manscaping hair. So get a separate clipper for that, and take care of that. Now, you don't need a razor all the time. I used to do all that back in the day. It's just tedious and unnecessary. You just need a good pair of clippers and just understand how to get close enough without nicking yourself so that you're bleeding or anything. All right, so we talked about hair, we talked about underarms, we talked about dental hygiene, we talked about bodily hygiene. When you guys come from the gym, understand that any bacteria that sits, food bacteria, when you guys are done eating and you leave a trash bag full of food, it will build this putrid smell. Anytime you come from a gym and you have sweat on you and build up bacteria from the gym, you need to shower. There's a certain bacteria that builds up and it smells horrendous, okay? Same way you need to brush your teeth after you eat, because again, if you have food stuck in your teeth, it builds up the bacteria that smells horrendous, and you might not smell it because what's it called? Nose blind. You might be nose blind to it. So these are just the outer things. Yes, they are tactics, but as you guys saw, most of this video was about the mindset, because that's what the actual thing to attract everything else is. You need to have the right mindset first, then you'll build the right business with the right structure aligned with your, you know, convictions, belief, and excitement. Then you'll start attracting, you know, the people you want, because now you're looking for the right mindset and not the right outer appearance. Okay, because that's what we do as young men. We look at the outer appearance only, and you will be shocked, okay, about the inner world of a lot of people. So let me think of another tactic that I probably forgot. So let me think on this. So the way that I found my fiance is simply by saying to myself that I was done dating. I need to focus on my self-improvement. That's when I actually attracted my fiance, because I wasn't seeking some imbalance in myself. Most of us are seeking an imbalance within ourselves to try to use somebody else to fill that void. And only until we fully have that inner world served will we attract the right person, because now we're attracting a reflection and not somebody that just helps balance an imbalance. Okay. Because what happens in the imbalanced relationship, for example, let's say I'm dealing with the void of, I don't know, loneliness or something like this. And now I just get with somebody because I was lonely. Well, now when that's fulfilled after a while, it's like, okay, the trade of electrons happened. Now what? Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is find the reflection so that the bond is about resonance and a tight glue of communication and what they call love, more than it is about trying to balance out a negative equation. Okay. because like I said, once that negative hole is filled, you're going to be looking at it again as if it's a new thing, and it might not be a good result. Okay. So what else is there to talk about as a man? I think that you truly have to love the form of a woman. Like, you have to love the form and appreciate the form of a woman. I know this sounds stupid, but I remember I could appreciate, what is it called? You know, like the really, man, what are those? Like, I can't even think of the performers. Let me look up some. Hold on. I can't think of a word for it, but think of like an artist like Lotto, for example. No shade to Lotto. I'm just using her because she's a very like outwardly, I can't put a word to it, but you guys know, like the female rapper that's very showy and very like gaudy, I'll say, like the Meg Thee Stallions, but not necessarily Meg Thee Stallion. But my point is, until you can appreciate a woman like that, and I mean, I appreciate a form, I'm talking about just aesthetically, and then also just the vibration of that type of person. I don't think people truly love women. I think they just are using women to fill a void. And when you get to that point, I think when you can truly appreciate all the forms in which your ability to receive that form becomes. So for example, if I, pray for a blessing and I say, hey, Lord, I want my business to expand. And then the Lord sends me all these challenges and I'm looking at it like a negative, like the haters talking down on me, the this and the that. But really the gift was to build more thick skin so that I could do the next challenge that he has for me. Okay. But I didn't receive it that way. I received it as a negative thing. So only until our awareness expands to appreciate can we be grateful enough to receive the proper messenger for the gift that we should receive. Does that make sense? So in other words, we have this visualization, this fantasy person. Okay, we all do as a kid because we're dumb. Okay, and we think that the world revolves around aesthetics and looks. Okay, so we have this dumb visualization, guys and girls. Okay, some girls have the Prince Charming thing, some guys have the fantasy girl thing. Okay, so what I'm saying is, because our vision is so small, we can't receive the true gift because our vision is chiseled in the wrong way. And so you have to grow to appreciate women in all forms, because now you can receive in all forms. So the probability increases that you'll receive the gift that you should have. Okay. So I'll leave this video as part 1. If you guys want part 2, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to spend some family time here. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. I want to honor all the mothers out there. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to Danny. You guys know her as Day DeVille. Shout out to Lil Leo. He's not a mother, but and shout out to you guys as mother. Okay. But I guess this lesson for you guys is to really educate you to appreciate women and treat them right. This is not a tactic Rizz aura tutorial. All that bullcrap is just deceptive. You're deceiving people, okay, to get something that you want. That's actually narcissism. So learn to add value to people and not always extract value. Thank you guys for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. Peace out, guys.